Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to church. How many feel a little more alert and alive because winter came early? I see so many broke out in sweaters and coats, and yes, I did too this morning. In terms of announcements, the fall book study begins Wednesday at 1 p.m. and we're going to do it by Zoom and also in person in the library. Also, speaking of books, the Friends of the Library has their annual sale coming up in Pilgrim Hall, and you'll see the details in your bulletin. And we also have an announcement about Access Sunday, where we remember the need for access for all of God's children. So come and share that announcement.
As Paul just mentioned, today is Access Sunday. And several years ago, this congregation voted to become, you'll hear this acronym all the time, A2A, which means accessible to all. And what that meant is we made a covenant to continue to learn and grow. Today we have an opportunity to celebrate uniqueness. Access to all means not only people with physical disabilities, but disabilities that you can't really see. So that means mental health, all sorts of different things. You may not notice, but when we first did this, some of the initial things that we did to help make this facility more accessible, simple things like we lowered the soap dispensers in the ADA restrooms, so they are more accessible to people that might need a wheelchair. If you happen to sit in the back rows on this side over there, we took a couple of pews out to increase the spacing in between the rows so people with a cane or a walker could get into the pews more easily. We moved some of the handicap parking signs that didn't make sense where they were, and eventually, maybe, hopefully, we can redo the painting, the stripes in the parking lot, because we need wheelchair accessible parking right where the sidewalks are. And right now, they're like a few spaces down, because this didn't make sense, so we did what we could do right now, but there's still room to grow. We also, lofty goals, we would hopefully try to make the chancel area accessible. That's a big project, but hopefully down the road that might be something we can do. So today you have an opportunity to celebrate uniqueness, and when the offering plate comes around, if you would feel gracious enough to put in something extra for A2A and Access Sunday, any money we get today is going to be donated to the UCC Disabilities Ministry, which kind of is the big UCC organization which helps churches facilitate becoming A2A in different projects. So we hope that you will give something today on top of your regular donation. Thanks.
One of the most shocking stories in the book The Sum of Us, which we start this Wednesday, is a story about a grand Art Deco Olympic-sized swimming pool in Montgomery, Alabama. Now, if you look at the front cover of the book on how racism hurts all of us, you see a diving board and you see people of two different races using a swimming pool. Very odd cover, right? Well, it's all about Montgomery, Alabama history and access. Because they had a beautiful park system in Montgomery, many parks, including a public zoo, but the prize jewel and the crown jewel of the whole park system was an Olympic-sized swimming pool at Oak Park. And a federal judge in 1958 decided that it can no longer be a whites-only park. It was a whites-only park that was the center for the entire city. They had birthday parties for children there, anniversary parties, teen parties, everything to gather people in a free, beautiful public space was at Oak Park Swimming Pool. In 1958, the judge says, we're going to have to share. People of all color are welcome in this pool. January 1st, 1959, the City Council of Montgomery, Alabama voted to close their entire park system, padlock it, get rid of all the zoo animals, close the zoo, lock down everything rather than share. But children continued to play in the park. And after they drained the pool, the children were sitting there, horrified, stunned, with their mouths open, as the children of Montgomery, Alabama saw fleets of cement trucks come in to fill their prize pool with cement. And then they covered it with dirt, where it remains under dirt today. That is the power of access and taking away access.
Please join me in the call to worship. With each new gray hair, we can become more boring, shallow, petty, and set in our ways. Why try new things when we might not be good at them? Plus, it is at the same time as literature. With each year, a new candle on the cake can burn up a dream of something we wanted to do. All of us hold on to be lifelong dreamers. Dare us to continue to dream dreams never planted in our hearts and minds. We all have God-given dreams. Bless us with dreams we can achieve from our years to come. Save us from responses to life that would make us boring, shallow, petty, and set in our ways. Please stand for the hymn, We Lift Up Our Hearts in Sing, Prayer, and Praise, page 179.
We lift up
Dream God's dream. Holy Spirit, help us dream of a world where there is justice and where everyone is free to build and grow and to simply have enough. The world will change when we dream God's dream.
but if you have a joy or concern to share today, please come forward and share it. I want to share a joy, and that is my joy this week was hearing Max and friends play 10 jazz numbers at CMU on Monday night. They did a magnificent job. And Max, are you going to be playing for the Warehouse show on November 3rd?
I sure will be.
Okay, so I want you to mark your calendars. Pam and Paul will be there. There will be a free jazz show at the Warehouse Wednesday night, November 3rd, I think 7:30. So come out and hear Max and see why I was so impressed with all of his work. I've heard him play classical, I heard him play jazz Monday night, and he didn't forget any of the music. I mean, you were on top of it. You were on top of it. So that was a great joy. And we are so lucky to have your talents with us.
Absolutely.
In terms of concerns, Gail Mosher is having back surgery on October 26th at Community, and we just pray for the best possible outcome for her. Peace. Shalom. Salam. Dorothy Segrist had a difficult week. She put down her dog Cassie and moved into a retirement community. Solstice, is that?
Yes.
Okay. And here's what I want to say. Sometimes you can hear something in people's voice. I heard in her voice that is 2 losses, not 1.
Yes.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
So if you're a friend of Dorothy, please send her a card of encouragement because, like I said, I heard in her voice this week 2 losses, not 1. Peace. Shalom. Salam. We pray for the people of Romania whose healthcare system has collapsed due to COVID. It is so desperate that the neighbors and friends in Hungary are offering to help treat COVID patients moved from one country to another. It is that bad in the nation of Romania. Other joys and concerns to share. So, okay.
Oh, hi Bruce. And there are 2 things I'd like to share with you. I went to a city council meeting and found out that Outreach has gained control of a piece of property. The city council donated a piece of property to Outreach for a shelter, and I got quite a little summary here. Apparently they have budgeted $1 million through the city council for home housing.
Sounds good.
Those are the stations I was telling you about.
Okay.
I remember. I thought it was kind of $1 million for that. Okay.
Peace. Shalom. Salam.
In case you don't remember who I am, I'm Kay Ransdale. I'm here to ask your prayers for John, who's having major hip surgery this week.
When and where?
He's having it done here in Wren. And he's in a severe amount of pain. He fell, and it messed up his hip really, really bad to the point where they have to put metal in his leg.
Titanium. Something like
Gold, I don't know.
that. Okay. Well, we can't afford to go. We're going to go to titanium.
I appreciate your thoughts for us. Thank you. Peace.
I'm quite sure that every single one of you have heard many, many times, if your phone rings and it's not a number that you don't recognize, don't answer it. I'm embarrassed, ashamed to say that I answered the phone because it was a local number, and I thought, well, you know, I still get calls from P-Flag once in a while, and maybe this is somebody I need to talk to. It was not. I'm not going to go into detail other than to say that this woman scared the living Jesus out of me. I was going to be arrested. I was going to be put in jail. I was going to have to pay $89,000 and whatever. Yeah. And then, of course, I had to call my kids. And Christopher said, Mom, you know better. And Ron, I expected the worst from him, and he said, well, you won't do it again. Don't answer the phone. It's just not worth the problems that it will create in your life.
Thanks, Don. That is a joy and concern for all people, because there are professional con artists who spend every day dialing any number available. And just be aware of that. And if they threaten you with being sent to Guantanamo Bay, just tell them, that's okay, my minister will come. The crazy threats you hear are just absurd. So just be alert to that. Peace. Any other joys and concerns?
See, this happened last weekend. Just want to share a joy that Ann Jokic, who's a former member here for years, took a pastorship up at the Congregational UCC church, and we finally got to do her installation. It's been postponed for 2 years, almost 2 years because of COVID, but we finally got to do it last week, and it was a wonderful celebration.
Yes, and 5 years overdue. Let us enter into a spirit of prayer and thanksgiving. God of grace, remind us that we are reborn each time we act with compassion, that we are renewed each time we reach out to help the stranger, the immigrant, the poor, and those in need, that we are recreated when we put our energy into life or death real problems. Help our nation. With so many battles and conflicts over petty political issues, help us to deal with the real issues of gun violence and the root of violence, of climate change and toxic pollution, of those who are struggling just to have ends meet in our country, of those who are searching for any form of health care. Help us to see the real problems in our nation. Grant us the courage to be people who look, to live out our dreams and to encourage the dreams of others. Give us hearts to work for justice. When we see so much in our country based on lobbying and con games, you call us to a life of faith, hope, and love. Inspire us to see the big picture and not waste our lives focused on small distractions. Let us do more than think about our individual souls. Let us take action to save all the souls on this planet. We ask this as we follow in the steps of Jesus, who taught us by praying, "Our God, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever." Amen.
Please join me in our next hymn, which is "Bring Many Names." It's in the New Century Hymnal number 11.
Glory,
The scripture reading this morning is from Mark chapter 10, verses 46 through 52 in the New Revised Standard Version. They came to Jericho. As he and his disciples and a large crowd were leaving Jericho, Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, a blind beggar, was sitting by the roadside. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout out and say, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Many sternly ordered him to be quiet, but he cried out even more loudly, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stood still and said, "Call him here." And they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take heart, get up, he is calling you." So, throwing off his cloak, he sprang up and came to Jesus. Then Jesus said to him, "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man said to him, "My teacher, let me see again." Jesus said to him, "Go, your faith has made you well." Immediately he regained his sight and followed him on the way. Amen.
Are you a dreamer? I certainly hope so. God gave Martin Luther King Jr. a dream that he shared with our entire nation and world in the I Have a Dream speech. Do you have God-given dreams? I believe you would not be here unless you had God-given dreams. Something that sparks the inner place in the soul. And progressives in general have always had beautiful dreams. Visions of a more just society, a more loving planet, a more peaceful state, nation, and earth. And yes, a minister should always have larger dreams than the church has a budget. And that goes for church leaders also. We should have larger dreams than the church has a budget. We all need dreams that move us towards action, that inspire us, that give us a reason to get up in the morning, that give us a reason to find meaning and purpose in life. Our national legislators are now wrestling with dreams. How do we make dreams come true for childcare, for our working parents? How do we make dreams come true for our seniors who, oddly enough, have health care that doesn't include eyes or teeth? Is that not also part of your body? Dreamers dreaming about family leave that matches other technology-blessed nations. Dreams for fully funded Head Start and pre-K programs. All of these are dreams that are being wrestled with, debated, fought over. I have a dream that the day will come, and I'm not trusting my generation with this dream, but I'm trusting future generations with this dream because I see a difference between the young people today and older generations. The dream I have is a day when people can stop hating and hurting others because of race, because of religion, and because of sexual self-identification. Now you're here because you're progressive, but tell me, are you not impressed by the dreams of some of our youth? Are you not impressed by the dreams of some of our high school kids and junior high kids who don't see the way we were taught to see sometimes in terms of black or white or yellow or green? So I want you to take a second just to place your hand life, to feel your own heartbeat, to feel the breath of life, to feel that love and gratitude for this simple gift called life. And simply invite God to give you dreams. If you don't have them, invite God to give you the space to be a dreamer, to give you the place within your heart where something comes that helps you to dream God's dream within your life. Thank you. See, one of our jobs is not written down anywhere in a progressive church, is to help people live out their positive dreams. Do you see that written down in any of the bylaws? No. It's not written in any job description. But one of the important jobs that we have as progressives is to help people live out positive dreams that they were denied. Or perhaps dreams that were repressed by their family, dreams that were repressed by the culture. Today is Access Sunday and Disabilities Awareness Week. Let's reflect on the dreams of those who are disabled. What is their hope? Their hope is to enjoy the places and spaces that we already enjoy, that we take for granted, that we are able to enter without encumbrance. Their dream is to enjoy the spaces and places of this earth without roadblocks, detours, walls, steps, and barriers. One of the most beautiful programs that's happening across this nation, and was a part of work in Seattle with the church I serve, is building ramps so that seniors can stay in their homes. Is that happening here? I think some places have already started that. But that simple act is a life-giving act to help dreams stay alive. I'm so grateful for the helpful, progressive improvements that UCC churches and other churches have made in the last 30 years just to be aware of the dreams of the disabled. Just to be aware and to work on various projects. And I'm going to tell you the truth. Most of the churches that I have visited or seen have done a lot of things to take steps to make themselves more accessible. And almost every church that I've been in and visited and seen is about halfway there. Now, I'm not saying that to be critical. I'm saying that to be a realist in my assessment. And couldn't we be honest enough to say, folks, we're probably about halfway there too? We all have work to do. Professor Nancy Eisland at Emory University shared a reflection on the flawed views of disability that have happened in Jewish tradition, in Christian tradition, and in Islamic tradition. In the past, there have been the wrong answers to the wrong questions about disability. Things that we need to groan about. Okay? When's the last time you practiced groaning? We're going to practice a little bit today. Now, some of you, if you watch Fox News and you're on vacation, you can't turn the channel. You practice groaning over breakfast. Sounds like a toothache. But, so we're going to practice groaning today with some of the things Nancy Eisland noted has been said in Christian, Jewish, and Islamic circles to the disabled. So, when I think of groans, the person I remember is from reruns of a childhood program called The Addams Family. Anyone ever seen The Addams Family? Now, can you remember what Lurch used to do to everything? It was a lot more bass than that. I don't know if we have any people who do bass, but it was like... So, that's a good model for groaning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share things that she had written down or people have been said to, things that have been told to people, and then we can practice our groaning. Let's get started here. Here's one. You are special. That's why God gave you this disability. Oh, my goodness. struggle now, but in heaven you will be made whole. Oh, no. And then one of the worst. And this comes from the faith healing community saying, the reason you cannot be healed is you do not have enough faith. That totally ignores that whole example of the Apostle Paul who prayed 3 times for a disability to be removed, and it was not. Did he not have enough faith? Let me give you a vital tool that is often used in progressive churches without mentioning the vital tool, and that is, if Jesus did not say it, then please don't pretend that you know more than Jesus. If Jesus didn't say it, don't pretend you know more than Jesus. God's will for another person is often a mystery. And for us to pronounce God's will for another person without knowing their dreams is foolish speculation. Here's how the vital tool works in application. Did Jesus ever say, "You are so special, Bartimaeus, and that's why God gave you this disability"? Can you even imagine Jesus saying that? You see how the tool works? And did Jesus ever say, "Yes, you're disabled now, but when you die and go to heaven, God will fix you"? Can't imagine Jesus saying that, can you? But yet Christians say that. Islamic people say that. Jewish people say this. And did Jesus ever refuse to heal someone and say, "Well, I'm sorry, you just didn't have enough faith for Tuesday"? No. Jesus, as our paradigm, our role model, helps us to see the heart of God and see what is God and what is also cultural prejudice and ignorance. Sadly, it's not just the Western monotheistic faiths that misinterpret reality in the area of disabilities. I have Buddhist, Hindu, and Jain friends who misuse the concept of karma. Karma is their will of God kind of concept. And so they say things that, yes, I groan about, and the more progressives among them groan about. So we're going to get our groan meter back ready to groan again with instances where karma is used against people with disabilities. One that's very common is to say, "You must have sinned in a past life." A past life you don't remember. Here's a second one that's very common. "Maybe your parents did something evil or were criminals." And then the one that I heard once and I was like, no, don't lay this on somebody. "Perhaps it's your own karma from some cruel act in childhood years that you don't later recall." Oh, no way to win that argument, is there? Oh, yes, karma can be used as a weapon to blame the disabled for their disabilities. In response to misperceptions, I appreciate the historical theology of Carolyn Walker Bynum, who wrote about the Middle Ages and the early church. And she said, in the Middle Ages and early church, there was no guilt and no blame for anyone who suffered from a disability. Why? In her book, Resurrection, The Resurrection of the Body, she writes this reflection. Infirmity or impairment was just a part of God's very creation. The order of flawed things. The response to difference was charity, spirituality, and morality. Isn't that beautiful? The importance of this insight was that they didn't view disability as either a curse or a punishment. Our brokenness was simply viewed as a part of creation in a finite often flawed world. Brokenness happens not because it's God's will, but rather it's a reality in which this realm of finite beings lives. Even Romans chapter 8, verse 22 says all of creation is groaning, like in the pains of childbirth. Groaning because it's not perfect and complete. Groaning because there is struggle and endurance and imperfection. Romans 8 touches upon the first noble truth of Buddhism. Who knows the first noble truth of Buddhism? Anyone? The first noble truth. Somebody's elbowing their husband. All right, next.
That life is suffering?
Yes, that all of life involves endurance and enduring suffering. Good job, Max. And if you look at it in terms of just even how we're born, all of life endures this sort of struggle, suffering. As I phrase it, the admission ticket, all right, the admission ticket to the game of life comes with unavoidable struggles, losses, and griefs. And if you don't believe that, just try to remember junior high algebra. I try to forget junior high algebra. But we've all had struggles in life, and life involves struggles. It is not a perfect world in a perfect universe, and that is reality. So what can we do? We can follow the model of Jesus and how he approached this man, Bartimaeus. Notice, Bartimaeus had a dream. What was his dream? His dream was to have vision, to have his sight restored. And notice that the disciples, who are often clueless, ignored it. Always notice Jesus' response as opposed to the disciples' response. It helps us be much more tolerant towards churches and church tradition, because we're still working on catching up with Jesus too. But notice, Jesus does not act like a TV evangelist. Bartimaeus, it says, leaps up and comes to him. Does Jesus go whack on the forehead and say, be healed? No. Before Jesus does anything, he gives Bartimaeus space. He gives Bartimaeus a place of integrity. And what does Jesus do before he heals him? He asks, what is it you want? What is your dream? What is it you seek? Jesus loved Bartimaeus not to jump to conclusions. The question was the key. He's asking, what was your dream? Are you a dreamer? I hope so. And not all dreams come true, but dreams can point us to what God dreams for our life. What dreams would help us to become greater children of God? What dreams would heal some of the brokenness we carry with us? What dreams would help others live their dreams? Always say, don't be a boring stick in the mud who thinks self-improvement is doing your laundry once a week. Don't be boring. I'll ask people each week, did you do something fun? Did you do something you enjoy? Because life is a gift to be used, to be celebrated. Be a dreamer and dream yourself into God's adventure. So I want to ask you, has God planted any dreams in your life that you want to share with the community? Because I think those are important things to hear. They're things that I will listen for over years to come. What dreams do you have for Grand Junction, for yourself, for your family, for others? Any dreams that you wish to share? Share them. Max?
I hope I can learn a new thing every day for the rest of my life.
That's beautiful. I hope I can learn a new thing every day of my life. That's beautiful. That is a great dream, and one we can all practice. What other dreams do we have?
Living for a reason, doing for a reason, and serving.
Yes. Living, serving, doing things for a reason. I'm going to get this going here. Anyone else want to share a dream? Because this is important. It's not just my sermon. It's your sermon.
I have spent years collecting information about my family, going back to the 1690 on 3 sides of my family. I promised my kids to write it down. I haven't.
Oh, write it down, Mary. Write it down.
My big dream is that my children, my grandchildren, my 3 precious grandchildren grow up to be good citizens of the world.
That's beautiful.
I would like us to bring creativity and art back into children's lives in public schools.
That's beautiful. And it can happen if we care enough. If we care enough. Other dreams to share. Yes.
For Grand Junction, that our city will be able to develop more and more programs for mental health and addiction issues. And I have my own dreams, but I'll share them later. For safe buildings for our children to learn.
Yes. Now you've got to have one. You've got to have one, or at least 100. I mean.
My dream would be that all of us would be able to visit with people we disagree with without letting our prejudice close our mind.
Yes. And for me, that's called a family phone call to Virginia. You know, we can love people and still say, oh my God, how did you vote for that particular person? Who will go unnamed? Still like Harry Potter, you know, some names you don't name. Bruce, did you have a dream?
Oh, I just wanted to be happy.
I love that one.
Look out, I read the Bible on this puppy. Daniel 12 says, if you wish to be happy, persevere and attain.
Yes.
And you will be happy, okay?
Yes, indeed. So,
Happy.
Kind of like Bruce's, I want everybody in the world to have the same privilege and pleasure and joy that I have in my life.
yes. You know, that's the image of the swimming pool, isn't it? To share with others the gifts that we enjoy, the benefits we enjoy, the blessings we enjoy. And to that we can all say, Amen.
A little by surprise there. The final hymn is in your bulletin, Sing a New World into Being.
Church
a new world of being. This week we had volunteers move some furniture around and set the table for a dream we have of a new children's education room that is the nursery, and a new space for a nursery that we dream of a better future once our children can be vaccinated. For that, let us hear the dreams of God. Amen. Amen.